Welcoming Rick to the Hall of Fame are Dick Vitale and Hubie Brown. Ladies and gentlemen, Rick Pitino.
Thank you. Thank you. That was as funny a induction I've seen with Oscar. That was awesome. Well worth waiting for. You know, the two gentlemen that to my left, they're here for different reasons. The obvious one with Hubie would be that I learned probably more basketball in a 2-year period than most people can learn in 20 years. But if it was for a different reason, I sat on concrete at the 5-star Howard Garfinkel's camp where most of us got some sort of a start on the East Coast as a player or a coach. And we'd sit on cement, and most of the time we'd watch these two gentlemen. And it was riveting for 1 hour to sit on cement and listen to them. Their passion, their fundamentals, the way they taught, the way they motivate was incredible. Everybody here knows that about you, but you probably didn't know that about Dick because he's been a commentator for 115 years. But Dick was a great coach and motivator in his own right. I remember distinctly sitting in Rupp after we got upset at Syracuse by Cedric Maxwell in North Carolina, Charlotte. I couldn't believe my eyes, but I wanted to stay around because I knew Dick when he walked out to play Michigan. And as he walked out, you would think that he'd be a little nervous playing Michigan from the University of Detroit. And I was sitting right by the Michigan section, and he was taunting them, telling them, you don't know what you're in for. You're going down Big Blue. And it was, the both of them meant so much to all of us who passed through that camp. And Hubie, for me, was being in a basketball library for a long period of time. But coaches are a lot different breed than the athletes. Someone yelled to me coming in, long overdue, Rick, congratulations. After watching the past 3 days, from Friday the Hall of Fame is going out, I really don't know what the heck I'm doing here, to be quite honest. The people in this room just blow me away. The prowess on the court, the prowess on the sidelines is incredible. But coaches don't get in the Hall of Fame. Players put them in the Hall of Fame. And I've had a great journey along the way. And last night we had a great party with players from every era, going back 35 years at Boston University. I had 7 of my players there, and I want to wish our point guard, number 11 in that picture, good luck. He was just named the head coach of the Philadelphia 76ers, Brett Brown. And we're very excited for him. The rest of the guys were telling me, you see, back then, there was no 20-hour rule. I thought that was the worst rule that the NCAA could ever put in. Until last night. For the first time, my BU players, who were only 2 or 3 years older than me at the time, because I was only 25 years of age, my college coach called the AD, John Simpson, and said, hire my captain. And he did. And I was coaching these guys an hour before breakfast, an hour in between class time, a 3-hour practice, and them being so young, I would always seek them out in the evenings for some 2-on-2 or 3-on-3 basketball at the end. And they were joking last night that it was 20 hours a day, and a couple of my guys said, you know what your nickname was, Coach? And I said, no, not at all. And they said, Pop. And I said, that's unbelievable. I was so young for you to have that type of affection for me. And they said, prisoners of Pitino. And I said, don't talk that way too much because of recruiting. Please don't say that. But I thank the BU players. Each stop along the way, you learn so much. BU taught me how to start from the bottom and work your way up the right way. Learn to trade from the bottom, eat your training meals at a pizza place, ride buses to every game. We retired our captain's jersey to the locker room in front of 12 people. There was nobody there. We had a champagne midnight madness. We gave out champagne. 9 drunks showed up and no one else. But we endured. We had a great time together, and they're very close to me 35 years later. I owe Jim Boeheim an awful lot. He gave me a great job. Bruce O'Neill gave me my start at Hawaii. Jim Boeheim taught me so much about the business, about recruiting. It was his first 2 years in coaching. And it was an awesome, awesome experience working for him. With Hubie, it was so good, and to share this moment with 2 other Knicks. I got a chance to play in practice when guys got hurt. I got a chance to, and I looked up at that game, and I remember distinctly that 5th game against Detroit. Hubie got ejected in that game with 10 minutes to go. And I remember yelling at the officials. He didn't say anything. He didn't say a word. How could you do that? And we won the game, and all I did was call timeout and masterfully said, every time down the court, we throw the ball to Bernard. And it worked beautifully. From there, I worked for another Hall of Famer, Lou Lamoriello, one of the greatest ADs anybody could ever work for at Providence. And what I learned at Providence, because when you leave the Knicks and you go to Providence, you think you know a lot. And I remember sitting in, I think it was Bermuda, at the Big East table with all the coaches, John Thompson, Rollie Massimino, Jim Calhoun, Lou Carnesecca, Jim Boeheim, and realizing that we had to play these guys. And I had so much admiration for every one of them. 3 of those guys are in the Hall of Fame. And Dave Gavitt put it all together for us. And unfortunately, it has come to an end, at least as we know it. It'll still stay intact, and it'll still be great because they get a chance to play in the world's greatest arena. But it broke up. But I had some way, had to play these guys. And I thought about it as I looked at my basketball team and met them for the first time. I said, this is going to be real difficult. But we worked because, once again, there was no 20-hour rule. And every single night in the evenings, Billy Donovan and Delray Brooks would play 2-on-2 against Pop Lewis and myself. And they were long days, but that's all we wanted to do, is stay in the gym and play basketball. And someday, that team that went to the Final Four, one of the greatest, outside of this moment for me, one of the biggest thrills of my life's going to be in a few years, watching one of my players stand up here as he's inducted in the Hall of Fame, Billy the Kid. And that'll be a great moment for all of us on that basketball team. I loved that team, loved everything about them. And then when the 20-hour rule came in, everything changed in terms of teaching. But I got the unique opportunity to go back home where I grew up, 26th Street on the east side, and coach the New York Knicks, my favorite team. And what a thrill it was, coaching Patrick Ewing and Mark Jackson, Charles Oakley and Gerald Wilkins and Johnny Newman and Ken the Animal Bannister, Rick Carlisle, Kiki Vandeweghe, and all those guys. What a big treat to coach the New York Knicks. And I'm so thankful to the New York Knicks, Jack Diller and Dick Evans, for giving me that opportunity. It was flat out awesome. And then I traveled to the University of Kentucky. I told my wife we were going to take a vacation. She said, who goes to Kentucky on vacation? I said, no, it's really beautiful, Lexington, Kentucky. It's beautiful. I said, it's horse country. They have beautiful farms. She said, you were born in Manhattan. What do you mean beautiful farms? Well, I arrived there, and it was different than anything I've ever experienced in my lifetime. But it was a wonderful experience. It was 8 years of Camelot. I also worked for another Hall of Famer AD, who's also one of my close friends in life, C.M. Newton. And he was so honest with me on the interview. He said, we're going to be on probation. We're not going to be on television. It's going to be very bad for a few years. The players left behind are slow. They can't defend. The good players left. And he just blew me away with that positive attitude. And I couldn't wait to get started. But one thing happened, as for all of us. If you get a Gary Payton, if you get a Bernard King, if you get a player like that, In basketball, your fortunes can turn right away. And for mine, a young man walked into my office with his Syracuse hat on. And I said, Jamal, son, these Kentucky people are a little bit different. I don't think you should wear that hat around this recruiting trip. He said, it doesn't matter, Coach. My mom said, I'm going to play for the Knick, Coach. I'm committing to you. I said, but you haven't seen campus and you haven't seen anything about it, and I'm not the Knick coach any longer. He said, it doesn't matter. I'm coming to play for you. Well, Jamal turned around all the fortunes of Kentucky right away. And in the second year, we had the best record in the division, even though we couldn't go to the NCAA and the SEC. And from that point on, it was the right road. The right road to a path of great success, and every day for me was Camelot. I never had a bad day at Kentucky, and it's very difficult to say about any job. My guys were tremendous, every one of them. And what a joy to coach those guys. 3 Final Fours in 5 years, a championship, a runner-up, and then I have a brilliant assistant who takes over and wins it again. What an incredible run. And I'm very, very thankful to those Kentucky players, because that's the reason I stand here today. The next job I take, because I can't hold a job very long, I'm entering my 13th season now at the University of Louisville. And it's been another unbelievable AD who I've worked for now has been one of my closest friends in life. For 13 years, I found out a lot about. See, at Kentucky, I found out, and you learn something along the way. At BU, you learn how to build the right way. At Providence, I learned how to dream. I always thought anything was possible after coaching that team. And I thought any player can be made into a great player if he has the work ethic of a Billy Donovan. At Kentucky, I learned all about pressure. Every single day, there was unbelievable pressure to perform. And it was very difficult. And that pressure brought out the best in everybody. It forces you to rise early, stay up late, work as hard as you can possibly work, because you're under the influence. As my good friend in the audience says, pressure is a great privilege, and it certainly is. I was downstairs taking a picture with my family, holding that trophy that the Naismith Hall of Fame that I'm so thankful provided. And believe it or not, in the middle of taking this picture, who walks in the room? Finally, Larry Bird. He finally walks through the door. And I said, what took you so long to walk through that door? And he said to me, you don't want me now. And you may wonder what I learned about the Boston Celtics. I am really, really grateful to them. I learned more than I gave. And I didn't give too much except leaving Jim O'Brien to master the helm. But I learned patience, humility. And a lot of people think it's because of losing that you learn humility. It's certainly a major factor. I gained all the humility not by the fact that we didn't win. I gained the humility because I had the greatest treat for 4 years of every game saying hello to Bill Russell, John Havlicek, traveling with Bob Cousy, traveling with Tom Heinsohn, seeing Red occasionally come in every now and then. And one night I called Red. I said, Red, it's not going well. He said, well, I said, what advice do you have? And Red just came off doing something for me very personal that I don't want to mention today with one of my children that was awesome. And he said, you know what, stop diagramming all those plays. He said, I know you learned under Hubie and you moved those pieces around. And he said, I never did that. I said, what did you do? He said, I stood up and I said to Russ, what do you think we should run? No, very true. I'm not embellishing this. Kuz, what do you think we should run? Tommy, what do you think? John, what do you think we should run? And I'm thinking, I was a little different than Andrew DeClercq and Travis Knight. I'm trying to think of how I can do this, but I had some good players. So he said, try it. When they come up with the play, they execute it. So we were playing the Bulls, and I never forget it. I sat down, and three of the guys in front of me were college players of mine, Antoine Walker, Ron Mercer, and Walter McCarty. So I said, I'm going to try it. We're down one late in the game. I said, look, guys, what do you think we should run? I said, should I have them stand up? And they said, not used to it. I said, what do you think we should run? I looked at Ron and said, Ron, what do you think? He didn't answer me. I said, Walt, what do you think? Chauncey, what do you think? Antoine, you're the captain. What do you think we should run? Antoine, what should we run? How the hell do I know, coach? You get paid to coach, we get paid to play. Verbatim. That night I called Red, and he was hysterical laughing. But I learned about humility with the Boston Celtics because of that legendary organization. When you see the way Bill Russell talks about the Celtics, when you see the way Kuzi Heinz and John Havlicek carry themselves, you learn that's the way you should act. So although I didn't give too much to the Boston Celtics, I gained so much, and I'm so appreciative of Paul Gaston and Red for giving me that opportunity. Last but by no means least, coaches are not players. We don't score points. We don't grab rebounds. We don't block shots. They all work hard. So many great ones I compete with every day in the Big East, and now it'll be another conference. But coaches are bridge builders. It's our job to build a bridge for our athletes to cross over to some form of prosperity. When they're sick, we're to be there for them. When they're having success, we're to make sure they do the right things. We're to make sure they stay focused academically. We're to match what great chemistry is all about when love and discipline come together. We're a father away from home. We're a mentor. We're a best friend at times. And when you build that bridge, you watch assistant coaches go across it to start their programs with their families. And your pride level rises to an incredible level when you see that. And I stand here today so appreciative of that because the bridge throughout those years today is so crowded with coaches that helped get me here, with players that worked so hard to help those teams win and share this moment with me. Last but by no means least, and Oscar, you had to get so emotional talking about your family. The greatest team I've ever coached, without question, and I'm 36, 7 years now in coaching. I have two sister-in-laws. Within 5 months of each other, my sixth and seventh man, my substitutes of this great team, were my sister-in-laws. One lost a husband to a taxi cab driver. 5 months later, my other sister-in-law lost to 9/11, her husband, my best friend. I admired them throughout the years so much, and we've been together so long. And my starting five, the best: Michael, Christopher, Richard, Ryan, and I got a chance to deliver my fifth child, Jacqueline. I actually delivered her. I was the Kentucky coach at the time. They don't care about malpractice. I got a chance to do it. Whatever you want, coach, it's yours. That starting five is awesome. And the general manager of my team is my wife of 36, 37 years, going on 37. She keeps that team together. One solid fist, and no tragedy can get those knuckles to open up. I love you all. I'm very proud of all of you. I love you, honey. But most of all, they're part of that bridge. And that bridge right now is very crowded with friends. And they say in life, if you have 5 great friends and you can count them on one hand, you're a very wealthy man. Well, I can tell you, I don't know if Forbes 500 measures how wealthy a person is by his friendships, but I can tell you right now, I'd be the Warren Buffett of friendships with all the guys that I have and all the ladies that I've met who have been so behind me in my life, those 2 sister-in-laws, my nieces and nephews, and everybody involved. I thank you for this great honor. Hubie and Dick, Thank you for being such a inspiration to me throughout the years. And I thank everybody here. This is a great honor for all of us. These inductees are so special to be part of their group. I've learned so much throughout the years, and I'm continuing to learn. Louisville taught me for 13 years what a family's all about. My best friends are the AD, SID, business manager, equipment manager, and executive. They're all my closest friends in life. They taught me what it is to develop a home and stay. I thank you all very much. This is one of the greatest honors any coach could ever get. Thank you all.